Hi, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to our experience series. I'm Raymond here. Today, I'll be sharing with you the art of closing. So happy to share this topic with you. Before that, let me just have a brief introduction of myself. I have about 10 years experience in the real estate market, and I'm appointed as the Deputy Chief IC for our projects department, overseeing our project launches. At the same time, I'm ACTA trained and also one of our trainers in the company. So let's go to today's topic, the art of closing. Before I go in there, let's like to share, generally, there are three types of agent, or rather three types of salesperson. The first type is what is commonly known as an order taker, a person that just take in an order, never really understand the buyers, what their needs and wants, helping them to really get a product that meet their needs and wants. Just an order taker, processing an order, not really understanding the buyer. Second type of agent that we can be is a presenter. That means someone that is very good at presenting a product, the features and benefits, but not knowing or how to help the buyer to really decide and help them to buy and close the deal successfully. So the third category is what I'm dwelling on today, is a closer. The question to ask is, are you a closer? When I first entered the market, people ask me, Raymond, are you a closer? So at first, I don't know how to identify myself as a closer. Some days I close, some days I don't close. So what is the definition of a closer, and what does a closer do? So I dwell upon this today. I hope I can give you some light on how to improve on your closing skills. So to me, there's 5 parts to be a good closer. Number 1 is that you are able to sell with confidence. Number 2, you can frame the buyer's mind. Number 3, you are able to magnify the pain and the pleasure that a buyer has within. Number 4, you ask the right questions. You ask the right questions to help your buyers to understand themselves. And last but not the least, you give them clarity. So with that, let's go. The 5 parts I will share with you today. Number 1, that is confidence. Sell with confidence. Whenever I ask agents, I ask our fellow colleagues, say, are you confident? They say, yes, I am. But next question I ask, so what is confidence? They look at me and look like a bewildered look. They don't know what is really confidence. So what really constitutes confidence? To me, confidence is just a simple definition of number 1, knowledge in your head. Means, do you know your product? Do you know your customer? Do you know what is happening in the market? Do you have the right knowledge? A lot of times, how do we convince our customers with confidence? Because we have a lot of knowledge. Just to share with you, to boost myself, to make sure that I stay abreast with the market, I read a lot. So I hope that during this COVID season, you also can take time to pick up this habit of reading. Just to share, for example, I read books from Warren Buffett, Think and Act, Invest like Warren Buffett. I read books about our forefather Lee Kuan Yew. I read books about selling skills, how to stop selling and start leading. I read books about tech prop, about how the technology is disrupting our economy. So in a way, when you have knowledge, I believe you can have confidence. Number 2 is believe in your heart. Knowledge in your head, believe in your heart. Do you believe what you are marketing? Do you believe that when your customers buy what they believe? Do you believe that? Because end of the day, for them to believe the message, they must believe the messenger as well. So this is first part, selling with confidence. Second part, which I would dwell a bit more, is about framing of the mind. What is framing of the mind means? Basically, it's a situation, it's helping your buyers to understand the situation, making meaning out of whatever that's happening around them. They are toggling with a lot of information. They are toggling with a lot of options. They don't know really what is the best decision forward. So you got to help them. So for example, right now we are in COVID. How do you pre-frame them? How do you frame their mind to help them to move forward? One of the ways which I shared in the webinar is asking them to consider what is the long-term effects of all the stimulus that's flooding the market. Another way is you ask them, why are buyers still buying today? This is a way to frame their mind and start them on a thinking route. So framing is definitely important because it will help to make your idea looks beneficial. It gives clarity. Just like you put your hands out as a triangle and you close one of your eyes, you look through this triangle, everything is clear within this triangle. It helps to give clarity and focus. And frankly, no communication is free from framing. Just for example, if I ask you, if you see a bottle, 2 bottles of milk at NTUC, one says 97 fat free, the other say 1% fat. Which one is better? A lot of times we go for the 97% fat free because we see the big numbers. But yet, if you look deeper, actually the 1% fat is better. So what are the framing techniques I like to share with you? The first frame, I'll share with you 6 frames. The first frame is the last frame. What is the last frame? The last frame is because in the market, if there's too many choices for the buyer, it becomes a bad thing. They become overwhelmed in an ocean of choices that they cannot decide. Just like if you tell your buyers, sir, there is 63 new launches this year. Wow, they will be overwhelmed. But if rather you help them to know, oh, sir, you're looking at the East. So what are the new choices? What are the new launches in the East? Straight away, you streamline them and help them to see clearer. Second frame that I'd like to share with you today is called the experience frame. What is experience frame? Basically, you are focusing on the experience they get to enjoy, meaning what kind of experience they'll go through once they buy into the product that you offer. So for example, you can share with them, sir, can you imagine your friend's reaction when they learn that you bought a District 9 project? Wow, isn't it? And imagine when you invite them over for your celebration in your function room with a chandelier on top and a concierge service serving them. What an experience. So things like that, you focus on the experience, it helps them to understand better what is the benefit of the product. Framing number 3 is what I call the comparison frame. The comparison frame. Sometimes your product is good, but only when you put it against another product, then it will enhance the beauty of your product. Just like, for example, you may be marketing a product in RCR or even CCR at 2001 per square feet. You can share with them, sir, today for CCR, core central region, 2001 is no brainer. Why? Because rest of core region, central region already also in 2000 series. So what do you think? Not just that, even in outside central region, it's already in 1008. So today, for you to buy a CCR at this price, it is really a good deal. Comparison frame. Number 4 is the 2 extreme frame. This framing technique, I have to credit to our master trainer, Chipson. I learned this from him when I was marketing Stars of Coven. We were struggling to convince clients that maintenance fee of $439 is worthwhile to pay for a 2-bedroom in Stars of Coven. So we use this technique to state 2 extreme ends to draw a difference. So what do I mean here? So the technique was that we share with the buyer, say, sir, today we could have brought you to a mass project, something like Bayshore. We do know what happened at Bayshore when completed. Everybody was rushing to use the facilities. The security guard had to give up name tag so that it's not overcrowded. Though maintenance fee is low, but you don't really get to enjoy. On the other hand, I could have brought you to Ardmore 3, very exclusive. You get to enjoy the pool a lot. But maintenance fee is 1,500 a month. So today, we are just nice at 400 plus, though you pay a little bit more. But let me share with you another advantage is that with this little bit more, it actually helps you to filter away buyers which is not in the same league as you. So today, you really get to enjoy the facilities just with a little bit of premium, and yet you enjoy the exclusivity. Framing number 5 is talking about past trends and future frame. Basically, you are expounding on what happened in the past. Because of that, there's certain principles and patterns. Current world events that's happening around us, what will be the effect in the future, and basically some business models and theories that you can help to frame the buyer's mind. And lastly, about future plans and developments. So a good example will be our population white paper at 6.5 million. What are the effect of residential property market? Look at it. One way to frame your buyer's mind. Frame number 6 is what I call the famous people saying frame. Means you frame people with famous people's quotations. For example, Warren Buffett says, price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Why do you want to quote them? Because they are credible and you are actually standing upon their reputation. Of course, you got to apply it tactfully, not use it all the time. So I've covered, firstly, self with confidence. Secondly, how do you frame the buyer's mind? 6 techniques how to frame. Thirdly, I'd like to share is how you magnify the pain and pleasure. So pain and pleasure points are there within your buyers. But a lot of times, they may not know really what are their pain points and what their pleasure to help them to move forward. So you got to help them to articulate out. So for example, I was serving this buyer who was toggling, asking me, Raymond, should I stay in my HDB flat, fully paid up, a five-room flat somewhere in central of Singapore, or should I move to a private condo? Both of them, on the context is that husband and wife are both working. They have 2 children. They are well employed. They are still young. They still got another at least 20 years ahead of them in their working life. So I shared with them. I say, on pain part, your house is really 40 years old. How much more can you appreciate, sir? How much more room do you have to appreciate? Secondly, the buyer that buys from you have to wait for another 5 years with MOP. Then the question to ask ourselves, is there any more room for growth? Likely not, because the house is already 40 years plus 5 years, 45 years. How much more room can it grow? If you don't upgrade now, within these 5 years, are you missing out a window of opportunity? Looking at the launches out there, it is a buyer's market. If you don't buy now, 5 years later, will it be a seller's market? Number 4, HDB is different from private because he raised the question, should I wait for SIRS? I told him, HDB is different. SIRS is not within your control. Statistically speaking, only 4% of HDBs are selected for SIRS. So all these are for pain part, just an illustration to you. How about pleasure? Pleasure, I touched on the point, like buying a property in Singapore is more than own stay, because our little island here with a growing population, property always goes up. The right property always goes up. Property price is an indication of our nation's success. Definitely more than 90% of stakeholders are property owners. So prices tends to hold up. Number 3, sir, the reason you believe in property because you see many of your friends make money, right? So that part touch all the pleasure point. Last but not the least, I also touch on a little bit of experience, like the experience frame. After all, sir, we only have 40 to 50 years more to go. What is more important than creating fond memories with your loved ones? So magnify pain and pleasure. The fourth key I'd like to share with you today is how to diagnose the problem, the art of asking the right questions. What is a question? The question is, what is a question? The question is a truth-seeking missile. It's a way for you to dig out an answer from the buyer, from the customer. And it's actually most of the time a human's compulsion to answer a question. We all know that questioning is important, and very often we only can think of open-ended question or closed-ended question. But let me share with you something. Good agents use question to learn something about the buyers. But key point here, great agents use question to help buyers to learn something about themselves, to be aware of their deep wants and needs that they are not even aware of. So actually, according to studies, 90% of agents don't really know how to ask good questions. So what are the questions to ask? I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to share with you 4 types of questions you're going to ask. First one is what I call educational question. What is educational question? Educational question is a good icebreaker. It's questions that stir their mind, delivers a value, help them to be awakened and be really curious about what's happening around us. So example, sir, do you know Singaporeans spend 3.29 hours a week to look at properties? What does this mean to you? What does this mean to you? Another example, sir, Morgan Stanley projected that property price will double by 2030. What premise do you think they make this kind of statement? Example number 3, our finance minister highlighted that cooling measure won't be removed in the midst of COVID-19. Why? Why such a statement? Why? Why are cooling measures needed in Singapore? And number 4, buyers are still buying in the midst of this crisis. Do you know? Do they know something that you don't know? So first question, educational question. Opens up their mind. It's great for asking when they are not within a show flat or not in a listing with you. It's rather a very neutral location somewhere in McDonald's, Starbucks. So you can help them to open up their mind and start thinking. Second type of question is what I call lock-on question. Lock-on question. It enables you to get into their head and determine what they really, really want. It focuses on facts and experiences. So client may be making this statement, say, we have been trying to find an investment property for the last 6 months. So how to ask a lock-on question? So I noticed you said the word trying. What have you seen and what is stopping you? So notice here, the lock-on question, it really helped them to lock on what they are really is bothering them. What prompted you to start looking? But take note here, if your relationship is not built up, and very often you are just getting started with the buyer, asking lock-on question may seem a bit too direct. It may seem that you're a bit intrusive. So you got to be careful. You have to buffer your statements like, sir, can you help me to understand? Ma'am, when you say that word, what do you really mean? Can you clarify for me what is an example that comes to mind when you mention that? So educational question, lock-on question, third question. Before I go there, I like main point for today. One of the main point for questioning today is how you should move your buyers. You got to know that buyers, when they come to you, they may not be all ready to action and make a decision. A lot of times, they are in the shoot mode. They know about property investment. They think they should be getting one. But you cannot let them just stay in a shoot mode. You must move them to want to and have to. Basically, what do I mean here is you have to observe their behavior, their words, their phrases that they use, and what you must do. So when they are in the shoot mode, a lot of times they're unclear about what they want. When you ask them, sir, are you looking for investment or own stay? Either also can. Own stay also can, investment also can. Sir, are you looking for 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom? 2 bedroom also can, 3 bedroom also can. So they are very vague. They are not clear about their problem yet. They are in the maybe mode. We'll see, not right now. So they lack desire. They may not be an opportunity because they may just be a shopper, just coming in, looking around, and not really enthusiastic. You must try to move them to 1-2 mode. 1-2 is when they start to share their problems. They start to be aware of their frustration, and they are getting motivated. They start to see the benefit of your product, and they are moving to have to. Have to is when the benefits outweigh the risk, and they are eager to go ahead and take action. A lot of times, only 5 to 10% of buyers are in this category. And if you meet someone here, you have to hold them tightly, because it's not very common that they are here naturally. It's a process that they have to go through. All right. And third type of question, educational question, lock-on question. Third type of question is impact question. What is impact question? See, many a times people, when they desire, but they're still reluctant to change. Why? Because change takes a lot of effort. Changing a house takes a lot of effort. The money, the time, the resources, the aggravation of going through all this process. So you have to help them to realize the negative impact. Ask them questions like, sir, how does this problem affect your family? How much time do you spend looking at properties for so long? Since you started for looking 2 years ago, how much has the market changed? So these are impact questions. You have to ask them to make them realize the negative impact. Fourth, the last type of questions is what I call vision question. Vision question. It focuses on positive, not just negative, but positive. It focuses on their needs and wants, their desires. A good way to ask is the power of if. The power of if. Questions like, sir, if you can own 2 properties by the time you retire, how would it affect you personally? So if you can see a safe way to build financial freedom in 20 years' time, will you take action now? See, basically, clients want success, they want security, they want peace of mind and simplicity. So I've covered 4 types of question: educational question, lock-on question, impact questions, and vision questions. Last part for today is clarity. Clarity. Why do you need to give clarity? Let me just paint an example. Let's say you're driving along the west coast of California, right next to Pacific Ocean, and you know you got to drive carefully because although it's windy, 2 lanes, but if you miss turn, you will go down the slope. So in the midst of driving, you are driving within speed limit. Suddenly, let's say a fog comes in and it blur your vision. What would you do? Likely you will slow down. Likely you even stop, turn on your headlight, and or rather even wait for the fog to clear. So now is a time of this COVID situation. It's just like a fog that just comes in. What you have to do? You have to help your clients to have clarity. Only when you help them to have clarity, then they are able to move forward again. So, top 3 questions that buyers may have, I put before you like a script. How should you answer them? Number 1, some of them may say property price will drop due to COVID-19. It's better to wait and see. So you may answer, sir, I understand your concern. Definitely this crisis affects the market to a certain extent. But let me share with you. We always agree first, then you share your points. Why the market will hold up well? Number 1, because of developers' costs. Property market is different from stock market. Stock market is driven by fear and greed. Developers, frankly, they have holding power. And from what we notice in the market, most of the mega launches already achieve 40 to 80% sold status. And despite of the current situation, do you know that more than 40 units have been sold within this short 3 weeks? Just to share, for example, major launches from Treasure to Florence Residences, most of them already attain more than 50% sold status, some even 86%. So at the same time, second reason, upcoming launches will be launched at a higher price. Today, projects are carefully priced because developers are actually sitting on very lean profit margin. There's not much room for them to drop price. Thirdly, there's still underlying demand. We still see buyers visiting show flat, buying, even though because they know this crisis is temporary, it's not permanent. And they still see that property investment is for the long haul. As we can see in China market springs back up. 8 cities have buyers returning. At the same time, volume even surpasses last quarter of 2019. At the same time, we also believe that foreign buyers will return because our government has been very swift in their action and it earned a lot of confidence and high praises. So definitely after travel restriction is lifted, a surge will happen. Second question they may have, stock market crashed. Is it a good time to buy stocks instead of property? So I agree. Stocks is looking attractive to invest. However, property is a good long-term investment. Why? Because number one, real estate is a need. Bricks and mortar never fall to zero value. Number two, stocks may have fallen, but you need technical know-how. You need to really understand the company's background, their future plans, and you must believe in that company. Then you put your money in. Don't just put your money in because you hear say from this friend or that colleague, put your money here, put your money there, when you really don't know the know-how. And number three, in turbulent time, market is driven by fear. Fear is very contagious. A lot of times, stocks lose their value just because of fear. Whereas property is illiquid. It holds value over crisis. Today in Singapore, 9 out of 10 of us hold property, and we definitely do not want prices to drop. That's why in this article, it's stated clearly that short-term wise, we will have moderation to the volume, but sellers are not under pressure to sell, so are developers. Underlying demand will still stay strong. Number three, third question they may ask, Raymond, I'm afraid I may lose my job, not able to service the loan. So I understand. End of the day, when we're doing investment, all the time, we have to exercise financial prudence. That's why I advocate that we don't over leverage. So what are some factors you should consider? Number one, assess your reserve. How much you have in your CPF, in your cash. Most of the time, I advocate you will have more than 6 months worth of reserve in their bank in the event they lose their job. Number two, Singapore MAS have instituted a very robust financial system where you don't over leverage based on TDSR and loan to value. So in overall, it is a very safe investment choice because there's a framework that helps you to minimize your risk. Thirdly, low bank interest rates. Leverage on the low bank interest rates. Going forward, government are on expansionary fiscal policies. Bank interest rates will stay low. Definitely, in these times, you want to make use of the low interest rates. Just for example, as you can see, 1.63, $3,513 will be installment for working out of $1 million loan for 30 years. You only pay $1,300 to interest. Whereas if you compare, if interest rate hits 3.5, your installment of $4,004, more than half, $2,917 actually goes to interest. So as an investor, you want to pay lesser interest and more principal over time. And we can see in today's market, because of COVID, Banks around the world are suspending loan repayments, and they also waive TDSR limits for borrowers to seek deferment. So what does it mean? It means that properties won't be for sale. Owners can defer up to next year for a good 8 months. They can hold the property even if they are really affected by COVID. They got time to sell the property within these 8 months. Note here, government and the banks did not practice this for the past crisis. So I believe the property market will definitely ride through this black swan event. So in conclusion, I hope I've shared with you something that you can take away and apply. I share with you 5 key things that a closer should practice or should be equipped with. Number 1, selling with confidence. Number 2, you know how to frame the buyer's mind. I give you 6 techniques how to frame them. Number 3, diagnosing the problem. You know how to ask questions, the 4 types of questions: educational questions, lock-on question, impact questions, and vision question. You know how to magnify their pain and pleasure. Last but not the least, you give them clarity so they know how to move forward. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have enjoyed today's sharing, and definitely I wish all of you the best. Stay safe, and let's all see each other real soon. God bless you. Thank you.